We're going to now move to a little bit to the east, to the more central part of the state, and one of the more active communities that not only offers city life, but the lake life within just a short driving distance. And that are the areas of Charlotte and the Lake Norman markets. U.S. News and World Report ranked Charlotte among the top 10 best places to retire in the United States. And it's because of its vibrant culture scene, quality health care, and favorable climate. And just north of Charlotte, the Lake Norman area offers 500 miles of shoreline for those who like to boat, fish, or just appreciate nature. Ben Bowen is with us, who represents the very best in real estate in those communities. And Ben is going to share his insights into what makes those areas so special. So Ben, Charlotte is rapidly growing as a financial and innovation hub. How is this impacting demand for real estate in those areas?
Hey, thank you, Jackie, and welcome everyone. So, Charlotte and Lake Norman. So, Charlotte is the number two banking center in America, behind obviously New York. Tons of banking here. We have manufacturing in the area. We're seeing some high-tech jobs here, major airport here, but it's a huge banking hub. And there are a lot of Charlotteans that commute to New York Monday through Friday, fly up Monday morning, come back on Fridays. But the banking has been a strong center of our community for a long time, with major offices from Bank of America and Wells Fargo here. But it's certainly helped the growth, Jackie. We have seen during COVID, as jobs became more mobile and people could work remotely, Charlotte's an area that many people have chosen to move and to relocate to.
Very good. So I'm so sorry. My thing will not advance.
There it goes.
Location, location, location. So proximity to all the airports and the beaches and the mountains and the lakes. Tell us a little bit about the location of Charlotte and the desirability of being in Charlotte because of those reasons.
Yeah, so you can get to about 80% of the US population. Basically, everything east of the Rockies is about a 2 hour flight from here. So great access to a lot of the country. New York is about a 12-hour drive roughly to Manhattan from here. So we see a lot of New Yorkers who move to Florida and decide they want easier access back to New York, have landed in the Charlotte area or North Carolina area, and they can drive back in a day. The other thing I love is the access to the beaches and mountains. Where Jessica and Caroline are, they're about 2 hours from us. So a lot of our Charlotte families will go to the mountains for the weekends, or they'll have a mountain house that they'll go to for the weekends. And if you're more of a beach person, we're about 3.5 to 4 hours from the Carolina coastline. That includes towns like Wrightsville Beach, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Hilton Head. Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Hilton Head are all South Carolina, which is all super accessible for us as well. But so having the ability, Jackie, to get to the mountains or beaches on a whim on a weekend is great. And so, like I said, a lot of families will choose to have a second home somewhere or just escape for a long weekend somewhere.
Wonderful. You know, Lake Norman is a very sought after waterfront community. What are buyers looking for when they're shopping for properties in that area?
Yeah, so travel and leisure just named Lake Norman the number three place to buy real estate in America, ahead of a little lake called Lake Tahoe. So that was kind of cool. But
Yeah.
Charlotte really, I mean, Lake Norman really has gotten on the national radar. And for those who are trying to figure out where Lake Norman is, the southern end of Lake Norman is about 20 miles from downtown Charlotte, or as we call it here, uptown Charlotte. So it's really a suburb of Charlotte. You can live at Lake Norman and work in Charlotte, have access to Charlotte for restaurants, dining, shopping, sporting events, whatever, and live here. A little bit quieter, slower pace of life here. But waterfront here is huge, and people are wanting access to the lake for boating. We can boat here. You can boat year round, but really March through November is great boating season. There are certainly people that fish year round here, though. But access to the Lake Jackie and water views are the big thing here. People want modern open floor plans with lake access. So, and Lake Norman is primarily a primary home market. We do see some families that have a second home here that live in other areas. Some of the Charlotte residents have a lake house here, and we've got people from other areas. Had a client just sold a beach house and bought a lake house here. Wanted to trade in the beach for the lake. So really, really sought after.
Wonderful. So again, healthcare being important as well as other senior programs. Will you just touch on some of the availability of those resources that are
Sure.
important to all of us?
Yeah, so Atrium and Novant are our two biggest healthcare providers in Charlotte. There's a Children's Levine Center there where people come from all over the country for care for children, but really fantastic cutting edge healthcare here. A lot of new hospitals are getting built at Lake Norman right now. We've got a new one opening July 1st. So tons of good healthcare here. And I really feel like living here, we've got access to the very best medical care professions in Charlotte and Lake Norman. And again, in Lake Norman, you're getting all the Charlotte healthcare at Lake Norman as well.
Cost of living is important. Will you touch on the highlights and the benefits of being part of the communities in Charlotte and Lake Norman?
Yeah, so housing is more affordable typically than a lot of parts of the country. So you're getting a little bit more bang for the buck. However, we are getting pretty expensive at Lake Norman and certain parts of Charlotte, but certainly it's more affordable than most of the country. Property taxes here on a $1 million home, that's about $7,600 per year. Our taxes are done at least every 8 years. So you might buy a home for $1 million. That's tax values based upon a number of 700,000. So your number might even be lower than this number. I think a couple people already mentioned it, but our state income tax is flat at 4.5%. New York's escalates up to almost 11%. So income tax here certainly saves a lot of money, and your children will thank you. There's no estate or inheritance tax. So your kids will be happy to hear that. And real estate, Jackie, we've always been a very sustainable market. It's not rapid growth, but it's very consistent. It was recently ranked by Forbes as one of the 10 best places to buy real estate. It's just a steady, consistent investment. We've got about 120 families per day moving to Charlotte. So the economy is diverse. The weather is great. We're going to probably continue to be a great place for people to move to. So I think people see real estate as a very safe investment here.
Very good. So there are many appeals, of course, for relocating to the Charlotte and Lake Norman areas. Will you just touch on the main appeals that we hear the most?
Yeah. So first of all, kind of the joke here is nobody's from here. People have migrated and relocated from everywhere. I had a lady from New York say to me one day, she said, Ben, I'll bet you're tired of all of us New Yorkers moving to your city. And I said, no, ma'am, you're making my mortgage payment every month. So we love the people coming here. It's great. But I really do think, Jackie, it's easy for somebody to move here from another part of the country, fit in, blend in, find their niche. There's truly people from everywhere. You're getting a little bit larger lots and less congestion here. You can also leave your snow shovel at home. Charlotte gets about 2 inches of snow per year. So if you want to see a little bit of the snow, you can run to the North Carolina mountains and see it for a weekend. But we're going to have pretty mild winters here. Falls are absolutely beautiful, and great springs. And then the summer, great time to go to the beach or to the lake in the summertime. Charlotte's got a lot of very distinct neighborhoods and towns around it. Just as a reference, the greater Charlotte area population is about 2.8 million people. So it's not a small city, but whatever your vibe is, whatever you're looking for, I think it's here in a specific town or neighborhood. There are tons of greenways and parks and outdoor recreation, Golf is huge in Charlotte. We just hosted the PGA Championship, and there's a little golf town called Pinehurst about 2 hours from here. So if you're a golfer, that's a must see and do thing to do. But we just keep getting consistently rated high. I think, Jackie, because of the diversity of everything that Charlotte has to offer. It's certainly not a one size fits all. We've got neighborhoods that are pretty affordable, as I'm sure we'll touch in just a second, all the way up to some very expensive homes here as well.
Very good. And will you just at a very high level touch on the people that who live here as well as what they do?
Yes, I sure. So Charlotte's about 900,000 population. Again, the metro area is about 2.8 million. Average home price of 439. I wish I could find those homes. We could sell them all day long. A lot of Charlotte is more expensive. I would tell you we've got a huge segment of homes selling from 600 to $1 million. That's a huge price point where we're seeing a lot of activity at in the Charlotte area. As you go closer into town, homes typically become more expensive. You've got proximity to high paying jobs. A couple of the major hospitals are just south of uptown. So those areas like South Park, Myers Park, Foxcroft, Eastover, those are neighborhoods in Charlotte that are pretty expensive to live in. As you get up to Lake Norman actually touches 5 different counties. The lake is about 40 miles from south end to the top end of the lake. It covers about 520 miles of shoreline. There are about 10 restaurants you can access by boat. So if you want to go to dinner, you can eat either a nice meal or get a greasy cheeseburger, whatever. A lot of different dining options here. But Lake Norman has some jobs here. A part of the lake is kind of a commuter village for people. But Lowe's Home Improvement Stores, their headquarters is in Mooresville, and that's here. If you happen to be a NASCAR fan, Mooresville is considered Race City, USA. Lots of the NASCAR drivers live at Lake Norman, and the house that Talladega Nights was filmed in was sold last year. So a lot of neat NASCAR and racing things here as well.
Very good. So these are some of the Charlotte homes for sale. If you could just give us a few highlights on each one of them.
Sure, Jackie. The first house at 1.8 million on Nine Bark Trail is in a neighborhood called the Sanctuary. The unique thing there is the lot sizes average about 3 to 5 acres. So you're getting homes. A lot of the homes there are in the 5 to 7,000 square foot range. But that's the first home. Second home on South Street, I think this is a pretty good example of what a newer home might look like. You'll notice the lots are small. A lot of our new development, if it's in town, you're going to have small lots. You're paying for location, but you're going to get all the brand new features and amenities in a house. And the third home, a little bit more out in the suburbs on Underwood Avenue. And the big thing in there is you're going to get about a half acre of land on a house like that. And that home's a few years old, but again, you're getting convenience and a large lot there.
At Lake Norman.
Sure. Denver. So Denver's on the west side of our lake, and this is a newer house. Certainly, a lot of the growth at Lake Norman is either going north because the southern end of the lake is primarily built up, or west. And so this is Denver of the East, as we call it. But a lot of new construction there. So some great new build opportunities there. And I think Jessica mentioned a long wait to build up in the high country. Building's very active and robust here, but there are opportunities to build right away here. Cornelius, that's the southern end of Lake Norman. It's probably the most expensive part of the lake because of the proximity, not only to uptown Charlotte, but you've got a plethora of shops and dining area. There's an area called Burkdale that's close to this for shopping and restaurants. And then Davidson. Davidson is a quaint little town that looks like a Norman Rockwell painting. The basketball program, Steph Curry is, I'm sorry, the school Davidson College is home to Steph Curry, but he put the basketball program on the map there. And but Davidson's a great little town centered around the college, which is home to about 2,000 students and very highly regarded academically. But as a reference point, Davidson and Cornelius butt up to one another. So they're literally next door to each other. You can go 100 yards and cross town. So when you live here, you've got access to each town. Every town around the lake's got a little bit different vibe and feel to it, but you've got access to all these for shopping, dining, and outdoor activities.
And you touched on a couple of these already with some of the
Yeah.
communities that are in the lake area. Is there anything that you'd like to add about the Peninsula, Brookdale Village, or Davidson?
Yeah, so the Peninsula Jack is in Cornelius. It's got about 900 homes in there. Championship Reese Jones Golf Course, they just totally renovated. It's a very exclusive, very high end. It's about $100,000 to join there. And that's kind of the cap. That's our highest end of our market there for a country club typically here. Brookdale Village has some really neat smaller homes that are designed for walking. They've all got front porches, and you can walk from your house to Brookdale Village, which has tons of shops and restaurants, and you can have a nice dinner and see a movie in Brookdale Village. And Davidson, as I mentioned, it's just a really, really neat little small town that's it's about 5 miles from Brookdale Village, so really it's accessible from everywhere.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights, Ben.
Yeah.